recording. Okay. All right, everyone, we are coming out of our closed session. It is 3:49 and we're going to jump into our budget workshop discussion. So I will hand it over to Randy to kick things off.
First thing, commissioners, just trying to get a couple real quick decisions from you. The first one, you had a presentation last week from the Historical Preservation. Again, Ron, if you can go into the general fund folder, there is other funds. There's a Historical Preservation Fund 143. There it is. Again, this fund has a fund balance projected at the end of next year of $148,000. We get about $60,000 a year. This fund had been used either for fixes to the courthouse, which is what we expect to use $500,000 next year, which is $1 million fix to the courthouse. We've applied for $1 million grant, basically $500,000, 50% match. The other monies that come out of here historically are the historic preservation. They have an ask to increase to $50,000 from the $40,000 that they've had for the last three. They also had an ask for escalators into the future, I think 5% per year. Just looking to decide because we do need a contract. We're on a contract at the end of the year. Two questions. One, what do you want us to put in the budget for next year? And then two, do you want it to be a one-year contract? Do you want it to be a multi-year contract? And terms.
Thoughts, Mr. French?
Well, I would be okay in increasing the contract amount to them, but maybe since we haven't increased it for 3 years, maybe increase it to by the 5,000, so take it to 45 and then leave it at that for 2 years, and then let's see where we're at the end of 2 years.
Any other thoughts? And or head nods?
I'm okay with that.
Sure. So you're saying you're not comfortable with the 5-year contract?
I just don't know where the economy is going to go. I don't know where revenues are going to go. I don't know what the state's going to do. I just got so many unknowns that I don't want to commit us to something and not know that we can't fulfill it. I mean, if it was this time 2 years ago, I'd say, yeah, do 3, 5 years, no problem. But we're not there, so I'm just uneasy.
So what was our previous contract? Was how many years?
It was a 3-year contract for $40,000 a year.
So he's saying take him. They're asking for 50. He's saying go halfway. Give him 45.
Give him 45. 2 years, we come back and look at it, and see how we're doing.
Commissioner Cutie?
With the escalator though, that they're requesting, the 2% or 2.5%.
No, he's saying just
45
just
and
45.
45 flat for 2 years, and then see where we're at. I don't want to build an escalator because I don't know where we're at, and don't know what, no matter what I guess, it's going to be wrong.
I think I would be okay with that. I'd like to do, since before we did 3 years, then they were like, oh, we'd like to do 5. If we continue with a 3-year, I don't know if that would be kind of like what we had done before. But what you're saying is you'd be willing to reopen it in year 3 and look at, do we need to make an increase? Okay, okay. Well, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, then we take another look at it. If things are better, then we get better. Yeah.
Commissioner Cunie, you had raised your hand.
I did. So I would agree with Commissioner French. I think raising at 5,000 would be all I would be doing at this point in time. 3-year, I think, is the most I'd want to do. As we see, we only have about 60,000 that's coming in each year. I mean, and we don't know if recording fees are going to be, or surcharge is going to be more or less. So, I mean, it's really hard to give them a big increase, especially again, when we know that we need some of these funds for the courthouse. So I I'd be okay keeping it the same for 3 years. So, so I think Commissioner French, you're being generous going to 45.
I was just trying to find a compromise, but I was like,
Are we comfortable that we have that in the budget for the next 2 years with that preservation fund?
Yeah, if you go back to it, we're projected $55,000 this year. We're estimating 60,000 for next year. So,
Okay, from that.
and that's the fund, as was mentioned, goes towards any of our courthouse renovations that we need. And so any amounts that we pay towards city Spokane support, there's the net is what goes to build our fund balance. Our fund balance will be down to $100,000 in this year, and then in next year. We put
Sorry, is this on a slide?
yeah, Ron had it up.
It's in the budget. document.
Is that the bottom of the packet for today, or?
No,
it's in the
no.
share-
You
it's in
go
the
to
share folder.
The share folder. There's one that says historic preservation.
Yeah, if you want to look right there, that's historical preservation fund.
Oh,
So this is what we're average, what's for projected to get the revenues. You can see the big tail off in it. And so if we put 45 in here, it takes us down to 103,000 fund balance at the end of the year, because we have the 500, that's the commit to the grant for improving the exterior.
Oh,
courthouse.
right, okay.
Yeah. 45.
Three.
45. I'm good with
45, okay.
45 2-year.
2-year contract. First decision done. Next one, rental car tax. This is money, that is in the same folder. I believe it says rental car tax.
I already started my computer, but it'll.
Okay. So currently, we've allocated $1 million of the rental car tax to Plants Ferry. That takes us down projected fund balance next year to just over $500,000. Sports Commission did ask for a continuing contribution of $220 out of this. Reminder, they also get money out of the TPA. They'll get about 1.7, probably 1.8 next year, because they did just increase the TPA fee that is collected from the hotels last year. So they get more money now. Again, this money can also be used for future Plants Ferry upgrades, which we will have plenty of. This is just phase 1. So just keep that in mind as you're discussing how much you want to give to them or how much do you want to keep in here for future Plants Ferry work that is needed. And I think Scott said it was a lot bigger number than this first go around.
Yeah, phase 1 is the cheapest. Well, cheap.
Is the least costly. I'm looking for direction. We did a 1-year a month ago because we did not have anything for 24. So we do not have a contract with them going into 25.
well, since I gotta jump out of here, I'm gonna keep the money for Plants Ferry and make the improvements there. They're going to get more money, and no matter how much money we have, they always want more money. And so, I'm fine holding it where it was at for last year.
So you want to do the same 220?
Do I want to? No. But if that's a compromise, I'd rather not. I'd rather put the money into Plants Ferry and have a hard number there that we've got. We're making an improvement to the community. We're not paying for an operation that's gonna go away. This has been fun.
Commissioner CUNY, you have your hand up?
I do. So I think I'm happy to keep it the same as it's been. I know they've added the podium, but in hearing, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they say they increased their staff by quite a lot? And
Yes.
we don't know enough, and honestly, Spokane County is the beneficiary of a lot of these tax dollars. And the TPA, Josh, you're on Visit Spokane. I think there's other funding sources that are going towards that. And partly, I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between what the PFD is doing and what the sports commission is doing. I know they work together, but so that's why the whole increase in salaries or in staff, you know, I don't know, it's been one of those interesting things to me that I don't know that much about, or understand it, and I just feel like, again, we have investments in needs that we haven't really been using these for in the past. Like the city of Spokane Valley now has their own lodging tax that they're getting directly, and that's what they're doing for the cross-country course. You know, no one else is helping us with Plants Ferry, and so we've got to really figure out Plants Ferry. So that's, you know, where I see it. I know every other year we use some of these dollars to contribute to the Hub Sports Center to redo a basketball court for them, which I'd like to see continue just because they, you know, struggle with that, and we need that space of what that organization's doing. As we all hear, we need soccer fields, we need basketball courts, you know, we need all these courts, you know, sports activities for kids, you know, and adult leagues and all of that. So I'd rather make sure that we're putting our money towards those things and making sure those things are running well, as well. So I'd keep it the same.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, because I mean, as you read the purpose for what these dollars are to go through, it says, must be solely for one of the following purposes: acquiring, constructing, maintaining, or operating sports stadium facilities, youth or amateur sports activities or facilities, or debt or refinance rate. So, I mean that this is recruiting sports to come here. I mean, essentially what the sports commission does. I mean, I think, which I know, I'm not questioning whether it's allowed for that. I mean, but I think certainly the spirit of these is for the youth sports, for the sports themselves. And I think one of the best things we can do is exactly what Commissioner CUNY was alluding to there. We're hearing about the facilities. There's not enough fields. There's not enough space. There's not enough, you know, actual facilities for the amateur youth sports to utilize. And so I think the more we can put into that, I think the better. You know, whether it's Plants Ferry, whether it's another, you know, baseball field out at Camas, whether, I mean, those are that are out
Now you
there.
got my ear.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just do 100% of it for baseball fields.
Hey,
At our county owned parks, sure.
I'm up for that. You gotta vote for that.
So I agree with what Commissioner, so Commissioner CUNY, are you saying hold at the 220 or adjust that 220 down? And put
I'm
more
saying
money towards
hold
fields?
at the 220.
Okay. Thoughts?
yeah, the 30, did they say that they run 32 or 23? Can't remember, what number that Spokane Sports gave us, but that sticks in my head. But many of those activities that they run are for amateur youth, like my daughter's participation in like.
Oh, no,
many of them.
they do.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
questioning that. I'm
No, what I
saying
mean, and the
the main
podium
thing we
is-
hear
yeah.
about amateur and youth sports is there's not enough fields, there's not enough courts, there's not enough space to put. That's the thing that you hear more from anybody in the public is they're fighting to find time and space to play.
But yeah, in terms of like indoor track, volleyball, all those things, the podiums opened up all those youth amateur opportunities that didn't exist before. So. Or allowed them to expand and get more people and more bodies here for renting cars and buying hotel nights.
Food.
So I'm okay with the 220. I do think we should review next year, and just see where we're at with Plants Ferry and
Yeah.
how much of it we actually put into Plants Ferry.
And that, the Avista Stadium M&O, just for the commissioner's recollection, once the MLB mandates are infrastructure improvements are made, it'll trip a new lease agreement with them, which then reduces our M&O that we would contribute. The Spokane Indians organization would be taking on more of that operating expense, once that comes in. So that helps
Will that be
build
in
more towards
26? Will
plant.
that go away?
26. 26.
That's a
Yes.
potential
I think it's when the
another
MLB mandates. will be 6. Seems like it's. I'm not remembering right now.
Project is well underway.
Yeah, it was a
To
4-year
be done, I
project.
believe in
and-
26.
So what your point is that the 150 that we've been spending, give or take, that will go away because
Reduced.
the Spokane Indians Club will be doing their own.
As I remember, I believe the requirement was they had to take on all of the utilities, a good portion, if not all of the M&O. I have to
That was
refresh my memory.
recollection too.
Yeah, I have to refresh my memory, but I believe that 150 goes away almost entirely, if not everything.
So there's.
Although, Scott, won't we need to look at, probably maintaining a, kind of a capital fund just for, I can't remember, I don't know what an agreement's gonna be normal maintenance that we're part of versus what the Indians do.
Yeah, there is some sort of delta in there, Commissioner. I'm not recalling what the threshold is right now. It has adjusted so that the Indians do more of it, but yes, there is no straight up capital replacement fund that has been contemplated in this.
Right, so I think we'd wanna just, since that's kind of always been there for that operation maintenance and just kind of the normal upkeep on those facilities, I think we probably want to still look at saving that since it wouldn't be coming out of the general fund
Okay,
to meet our contractual obligation there.
I'm good with the 220.
220,
So am I hearing a 220 for 1-year contract?
Yeah.
Thank you.
20.
Next I'll let you guys choose. I don't know how much longer we are going tonight, but we can either jump to capital or we can jump to outside agencies next. If we're gonna be here for a while, let's knock out capital.
Go for it.
Okay. You got the read sheets, updated read sheets. As I emailed you last week, the updated read sheets are in your folders under capital, and we have the updated 5-year plan with some suggestions from us as to possible things to fund and where the funding can come from. We talked about,
Randy, can
Yes.
you help me out? Where is it in the share folder?
it's under capital. There should be a REIT 1 and a REIT 2. Did I not put them in the right spot?
They're there.
Oh. No.
Yeah.
Oh,
PDFs.
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're PDFs.
There's 2 PDFs and then we're in the top.
Got it. Okay.
And the capital improvement plan.
I think that. Yep, that's correct.
We've already dealt with Fair and Expo and we already dealt with parks, so we won't be going those. Detention services, I'm gonna skip over scraps for right now. Not sure if we're going to have money for them but we can come back to that. I wanted to jump down to detention services. The first one we have there is jail capacity remodel. This was what Mike Sparber talked to you guys about. Right now, we're estimating that is $3 million. I would, if we've right now earmarked that to be coming out of fund balance. This is the project. This is a project where we would redo some space in the annex and also in the public safety building to give us overflow so that we can actually start redoing the floors, that we've talked about in the past. I'm not recommending right now that we do anything with Geiger, but again, it's your decision. These are just our recommendations.
And I would add to that, recall that when the commissioners took the action on the resolution for interest income last year, we took it out of the other funds to bring it into the general fund, and you had indicated intent in there that the dollars would be for one-time purposes. So we originally were suggesting fund balance. I'm gonna suggest that we 4.5.
So
Million is the
right
amount
now,
of interest income?
there's about a little over $5 million of one-time money in our budget right now. We have the 113, Fund 113, which is Veteran Services. Where for 1 year, we don't have to send our property tax monies to them because they have enough cash in their fund right now. And also the interest income, which was about 4.5 million that I've got in the budget right now for that. So that would be about 5 to 5.5 million. If you count the interest as the one-time money, which is what we did last year, that we could use out of regular operations going in for next year.
So a suggestion would be, at least as we're starting to go through the capital stuff, use up about 5 to 5.5 million in that general fund category of capital needs, which takes into consideration the vet services one time and the 4 to 4.5 million in interest income that we're expecting for 2025.
So that's maintaining one-time monies with one-time purposes.
Yep.
Question,
Yeah, go for it.
does the interest income vary wildly per year?
It can, right now, we're on highs because the market for treasuries is high interest rate right now. And they've recently gone up, so we have about a 2-year maturity on the treasurer's office. They keep it close to 2 years. So we will, as they're buying new stuff, I would expect that we will have higher rates for at least another year. If you would have looked at this money 2 years ago, it was probably about $2 million. Just because the rates were so low. So yes, it does have swings, no doubt.
Will be an adjustment, but.
And also depends on how much money, so like ARP, we've gotten a lot of money from that because people were slow at spending it down. But that's a different topic, but again, that helps with the general fund interest on the ARP dollars.
So, sorry, how much are you projecting for interest? Is that
About
on?
4.5. I
Okay.
put 4.5 in the budget.
Okay, and you're saying, and Scott, what you're saying is to allocate that to the jail, the downtown jail needs?
I'm recommending at least of that 4.5 plus the one that we're not moving for veteran services gives the commissioners 5.5. I'm recommending that 3 million of that goes towards the jail downtown. Before we start looking at the fund balances, try to utilize those dollars first towards capital. Yeah, my recommendation, but.
So then, in looking at the general fund additional budget request guide,
That would, go down.
that impacts
Yes.
how much we, in theory, could
Yes.
spend on just operational.
That is correct. So for every dollar that we would use to capital, we would not have a dollar for operation. That is correct.
When we get to there, they've got a line item in that decisions guide. I think you've seen there, which will take everything from the 6-year capital plan that you show from general fund, and it'll feed into that document, which will reduce what's available.
And just
Okay.
so,
But we haven't made a decision if we're gonna use fund balance towards capital.
Have not.
So you're assuming,
No, we're only talking the general fund, the asks that everyone came through, the available dollars, and how much you want to commit towards general fund uses, capital, not reserves.
not operating.
not a,
Yes, capital.
I didn't realize so it's all in one bucket, is what you're
it
saying.
is all in one,
Okay,
the non-fund
Yeah.
balance. So
Yeah, I
current
would-
year operations. Currently, we had, what was that, Josh, 11? What do you have on
Yeah.
there?
I would rather.
Oh, this.
10 million, I think.
This is with stuff taken out on mine.
Uh,
But you guys had $1 million placeholder.
Yes, so
for
I think
capital.
we were down to 10 million and
10, it was 10
Oh,
something.
right.
10.7.
Yeah,
That, and just so that everyone knows, that does not include the approximately 750,000 that we will get from the city's tax. They will get between 6.8 and 7 million a year. We get 15% of that. In 2025, that doesn't start until April. So they'll only get 3/4 of a year. So typically we'd expect to get $1 million a year, $1 million to $1.1 million. Next year, I expect it to be about 750. It also does not include any property tax decision. If we did the 1%, that'd be about another 650 that would get added to that availability.
So just a reminder, general fund, revenues, and our general fund expenses, our expenses are both operating and capital. Yeah,
Right, I guess I prefer that we figure out how to use ongoing money, right, for the operating, and then for capital, we're looking at one-time money as much as possible, whether it be fund balance or other funds.
right. So last year, what you did though is you took the interest income and the Monsanto dollars, used interest income to fund
Right.
capital and take half the Monsanto to fund capital as well. Which is out of operations.
Again,
The interest,
that is your decision if you want it to be for capital, or if you want it to be for operations. If you don't put it to capital, yes, we had 10-point-some million for operations. We've got a potential 1.4 million more, 750 from the city. If we did a 1%, 650 for property taxes.
and remind me with this, the public safety sales tax, other specific restrictions.
It was very loosely written and we do not get enough money to cover all the eligible expenses that could be used.
It's really broad, the.
Yeah,
the-
and
the
so
public
there
safety
is,
category.
we would have no issues fitting that into our budget and it being used for the appropriate purposes. It just frees up other dollars.
Got it.
Plenty of places it could go.
Yes, there
But
are.
it needs many places.
It fits nicely within my worksheet. I'm gonna complete it tonight.
copies.
There's my missing piece.
We will start with that on.
I solved,
Friday.
I solved the budget, guys. Friday's gonna be quick. We're done.
Okay, so, capital, I don't know if Commissioner Cutie, you had a comment or not, I didn't hear you pop in.
Is
Yeah.
everyone,
Other than I am gonna have to be jumping off here soon. It is getting late for me back here on the East Coast time. So,
You knew what you did when you got on that plane. You knew what time it's gonna be.
yes. So, so I'll give you till 7:30 and then I'm gonna be off. My time.
I want to check in with the statement that Randy or a question he posed earlier. Is it fair to say that the commissioners are on the same page with regards to not continue to further invest with Geiger? There's about, I don't know, $4 million, $5 million, if not more, asks on Geiger. right
We
now.
don't own it and the need for repairs is so great. I think we're kind of past that point.
Yeah, I mean, if at all possible, we do not have to invest. I would rather invest in other places. For our detention services, so. Yes,
Okay, we clearly need the 3 million.
I agree. Are we in agreement? Are we in agreement on that?
I
The 3
think-
million?
I think for me, it just- I think,
You just don't know what.
I
bucket
don't
you
know
wanna put it
where
in.
the money should
Okay.
come from, but I
That's
do
fine.
it. I think
We
that's
need
what
it.
I would
It's
rather
gotta
do
be
during
there.
this session is kind of say, what are the priorities? Cause then
Then we
we're
can
still
figure
gonna
out the
have to
dollars.
if it's general fund, we're still gonna have to figure out if we're gonna take it from different places,
Right.
so.
Okay.
We need it though.
The other one that that we filled out was on the campus infrastructure. This is where we have the contract that hopefully we will have for you on December 3rd.
That's under facilities.
That is under facilities. It's the first line. It's the $36 million line. Again, I had put $1 million. We have a bunch of buckets. This is funding over 3 years. We don't need 36 million in cash next year. I had put $1 million into the general fund only because that was some one-time money that we were gonna have next year. We know that there will be a debt component to this most likely. You may also want to use so that under the special revenue, that's if you have any ARP clawbacks, you could use that to help fund this, because that is one-time money. And then another option would be fund balance if you so chose. But again, that is a decision we can make later. To Commissioner Walter's point is more is do we want this in the 25 plan as one of the projects we're going?
And this is the electrical
This
switchboard
is,
plus the the steam.
yeah, so this is getting off a high pressure steam
Yeah.
going to hot water and also replacing all the air exchange, air handling units and the switch gear.
That's something we're doing regardless of everything, all the additional.
Those are just what we believe are needed.
Yeah.
One
Yes.
to get our gear, our switch gear and other power supplies updated. You know, they're 7 years old.
They're 50 years,
Yeah.
50, 60 years. old.
So this is the 1 million that you have as the
Yes.
placeholder on the
Yes.
worksheet. The 9 million, which says, when I go over that
If-
red cursor, it says Scott Simmons ARP.
So if you,
So-
if
What it says.
Do we have the,
You're reading that correct.
so we have that ARP set aside for that? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
Commissioners have not done that. That's what Jeff and Heather are showing would be available after the known clawbacks
Clawbacks,
and
indirects
the
and stuff.
indirects
Okay.
that would be available.
so that has not been a decision you have made.
These are
It is just
suggestions.
A
Okay.
suggestion.
And then
They're all
fund
suggestions.
balance for 11 million.
Potentially.
Commissioner CUNY, go ahead, jump in.
So I guess that one of the questions I have with all this, as we look at this, because especially on the campus infrastructure improvements that we need to make, is looking, I mean, kind of like we talk about ARP and what's getting clawed back, and we talk about the potential uses for it. And I've heard about 10 potential uses for it. So I mean, so I always get worried that it's like, we're saying we could use it here, we're saying we could use it 10 other places. So which place are we really using it? Because we have potentially another building that we're needing it for. So I mean, I guess that's where I just get confused on some of that as to where we're really putting that. And then again, even here with this, I mean, this is gonna be, I mean, because we don't have normal money just to spend on $36 million on, you know, on the new, on what we need to do here. So, I mean, I look at it that, yes, we're gonna have to bond it, but if we bond it, we are paying it back with REIT dollars. And so we are really be looking at that's what REIT 1 is gonna be, and not saying, oh, these other dollars could be used for REIT 1. Because I feel like we kind of get into that a little too much, where we keep talking about all the different possibilities and not really kind of narrowing it down to what do we really need? Because when we look at REIT 1, you know, I mean, that 30, you know, knowing the small enterprise was 40 million and we're at 1.1 million a year, you know, we're going to be that same place for this. I see you, Randy.
I was just gonna say, the reason I put 15 million there, the annual payment is about 1.1 million for 20 years. I assume half of that can be made up with the energy savings, which would take about 550 of REIT.
But that's potential. We don't know. I mean,
Isn't that guaranteed through the audit?
There are some guaranteed energy savings with the contract. They are not as high as what we expect to get. Excuse me, nose itches. But I would expect that we can, as our energy goes down, we don't reduce our budget for the reduced energy savings. We use it to pay debt. And then we only make up the difference with REIT dollars.
okay, but that means we're looking at that in our cost allocation plan and making sure we're properly doing that. So these are the things that, unless we have a real plan written down for that, I have a hard time committing to it, because it's a lot of theory in my mind. And love you, Randy, but And I know you're really smart, but I need that. I need that, really written down so we understand kind of where we're really putting it. So as we're looking at this budget, and it's probably going to be more on Friday, we really have that opportunity to look at the whole picture instead of, I feel like we're kind of getting one off a lot, and I need to look at the whole thing.
On the campus infrastructure improvements, Randy and team tried to line that out in this particular line, so it gives you where potential dollars would come from to fund the 36 million in needs. And there's a little note in there in read 1, if we were to take out debt of 15 million, that's where the 1.1 debt service would come into play out of read 1, half of which we believe could be offset by guaranteed facility savings. So that's just for that line, but at least it gives you a picture of what an avenue would be for the campus infrastructure.
And these are just options. You guys can make a decision to fund the whole thing with debt if you want.
Right, but I think we need to look at what those options are. So we're making an informed decision instead of just, I don't feel like I have the whole picture to know. Because would it be better for us to really, do debt on the whole thing, especially now that interest rates are starting to come down a little bit? Would that be better? And then we're saving the departments in the long run and reducing our fund balance, or our general fund, by not costing so much in the indirect cost plan.
I agree, we need to look at which triggers we pull. I don't think we need to solve that for the budget. I think the question is, are we going to put 36 million into the next, because that's going to be a 3-year project. We haven't seen the contract yet. We hope to bring that to you. And I think that is something you could decide in 25. Do I want to put more into debt? Do I want to take more from fund balance? Jeff, did we claw back enough ARP, or do I need to move some of that out of the 9 and move it into one of the other buckets? We don't know all those answers, and I don't know that we'll know all those answers for another, because you're still having ARP discussions, so we don't even technically know all those answers today.
Right, and if we look at like even the ERP system, are we feeling that that's going to be going over budget, which would cause us to use ARP for more of that? I mean, that's where I'm not having a great gut feeling yet.
On that one, I would say no. Right now, we are, I don't see us going over right now.
Question on the ARP piece of it. I can't remember if we claw it back or redirect it. Does it need to be redirected to a specific place by the end of the year?
Once you,
Even if it's internal.
Once we change the color of money through our general fund, exercise that Jeff's been leading you all through, it brings it back. It brings it into the general fund essentially.
It's just general fund money at that point.
Alright.
It does not have to be set by the end of the year.
Okay.
So if you bring it back, but rededicate it to where it came from, then it would not be eligible for, it would not be extra money.
You have to put it aside for the contract, so we.
Exactly.
That's
If
fine.
that's what you're doing. So
That's right.
again, those are things that you guys have not decided yet that are to come. So this is just more of a placeholder. Is, are we going to put 36 million and go forward with the contract, basically?
As I recall the presentation from Gil, it seemed that it was, the math that he laid out was pretty clear over the long term, that
Yes.
these changes save us
You do.
in several ways. One is the utilities, but also just the not having to pour money into these ancient systems to keep them functional.
And also be able to find staff that
Right.
are eligible to watch the systems. Whereas today we have to have a higher level that are harder to find, that we compete with hospitals.
So it seems to me that we should put it in our list and move forward, but I agree with Commissioner CUNY. We need more discussion about the options and what the best financing plan is. But if we don't have to make that
We
specific
don't have to
decision,
make that specific.
then it can be something we continue to look at.
It's a placeholder right now.
Yeah.
Let's leave it as a placeholder, and if we have to adjust that on Friday, we will. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna jump off, so.
Okay,
You-
wait, just before you leave, so and somebody will have to call Commissioner French, just so we all, so what should we have ready Friday? What do you need all of us to have
Um,
ready, done by
balanced
Friday?
budget.
Well, I'm almost there. man. I'm almost there.
Basically, from the capital side, we're pretty much done. I would say we are done from the capital side, because the only two things we haven't discussed is IT, which is being funded with ARP dollars that we already have set aside for that. And the sheriff, we have the helicopter that we signed for this year. It will roll over into next year, which is why it's in the line, but it's just gonna come out of this year's operations, which will be next year's fund balance, basically.
Okay.
And then the Valley vehicles are on there, and that is it. So if we're not doing anything else in capital, I would say, then we just have this sheet here to finish.
That's not good, the right sheet. Outside agencies
Your sheet
Agencies.
and outside agencies and that. That's
Because outside
That
agencies
is, that would
impact
be Friday.
what is gonna be available here. But I do wanna say though, we do need to know from the commissioners how much money of the remaining capacity you want to spend in capital, because that then determines what will be available for the remainder of operations.
All right. Any parting words, Commissioner Kearney? Anything else?
Nope, I'll see you guys on Friday. I think I arrived late Friday night, like at midnight, so it'll be,
So you're zooming in then?
no, I'll be in person.
You just said
It's
you get in
Friday,
Friday.
Thursday night.
That was Thursday night, sorry.
Okay,
Well,
right.
Friday at 12 something AM, so it'll be a short night for me,
sounds good.
but I'll be there in person.
All
right. Okay, thank you.
And I have an updated vacancy sheet. Commissioner CUNY got this on Friday before he left. This is as of 10/31. The last one you had was as of 9/3 for the current year. And just as we go through, how much money do other people need back? If they started with a fully funded department, again, we know we're gonna have vacancies. We will never be completely full. It's impossible. Either that or we don't need Ashley and her crew recruiting. But so we have some departments that have very big vacancies, so we can definitely. Yes, Matt, sorry.
Well, it's just another tool to look at where.
It is, it's
You
just,
can meet some of the budget requests by building in department specific vacancy adjustments.
Matt, what are you doing over there, man?
Sitting here with you guys.
Sorry.
Yeah.
so I think for the most part, I think we're done with capital. Again, as Scott said, it's really how much are we setting aside of current operations for capital? Is it 1 million? Is it 4 million? Is it 5 million? Is it 5.5? And then that determines how much we have for departments. And then, of course, we have two other revenue sources that are not in our decision guide yet. I will definitely, well, we'll know next Monday. We know we got $750,000 coming from the public safety. That we know we will have.
Will you update your?
I can
your sheet?
update this sheet with that seven.
That's what I was gonna say, that the spreadsheet
I will
that we've
update
been
it.
working with.
I will
didn't have
update it.
that.
I will
didn't
update it.
have Something else, right?
It only does not have the property tax decision, which won't be made until next.
Right,
month.
right.
And that's 650
That one, the public safety.
if you do 1%. But I will update it with the 750 of public safety tax.
That's a guarantee at this point.
Yes,
All right.
unless they don't talk to the state and don't file it with them and don't get their money, but.
You can't rule anything out over there. Okay,
Alright.
anything else for did we have?
Oh, an executive session order, yeah.
We got
Executive session.
And,
Pending
and so,
litigation.
so before we do that, and I guess the three of us can decide, all three of us were there last year. Do we want to do a winter ops press conference again, like we did last year? So we kind of explain to remember last year we did it over where the site of
Remind
the.
people about snow.
Yeah, and how we do snow removal,
Yes.
you know, how we prioritize, what our equipment, you know, what our fleet looks like, how we prioritize, I think it's a good idea, we
Yeah.
got some press out of it, and it's
Yeah.
great when
Good
more of the
coverage.
public knows how we do it, and it reduces the number of questions we get when the snow starts falling, so I like the idea,
Yeah.
so,
Thought it was good.
okay.
Yeah, Martha.
Good
Louise did
information.
that last year. Yeah.
Scott, can you relay that to?
Yeah,
Martha
I just
Lou
think
and,
I would just
and
temper
Kyle.
expectations because I don't think if there's gonna be a big expectation of residential stuff this year, I don't think we're going to be able to accommodate a lot of that thing. So definitely our main arterials and hills and curves and stuff, absolutely, but as we're going through the year and things are getting more and more expensive, probably not gonna be able to do as much residential as maybe we have in the past. So.
I have one other, if I could. Our contract with Northwest Municipal Advisors, Scott Bauer. They are our municipal advisor on bond deals. That contract expires at the end of this year. Do we just want to renew with him or do you want a different process? I mean, Northwest Municipal Advisors was here the first time I was here, at the county 20-some years ago. Do we want to just do another 3-year contract with them, or what's the way? Or are you wanting us to go out to RFP, which we haven't done in a long time? So we don't need an answer today. You guys can think about it. We can get an answer on Friday.
I like Commissioner Cuny's input, she would
Yeah.
have dealt with them
Yes.
when she goes back
Yes.
to
Yeah.
East, or back to New York to do those sales,
Right.
so.
So we'll wait for that until Friday then.
Pat, so you hopped
I
on?
think I forgot.
I thought maybe he had a back on the press.
I think he does.
No,
You keep unmuting and muting, Pat.
Muted.
Okay. It's all right. Oh, no mic.
crow's nest.
Oh, he's up in the crow's, okay. All right, well, can we add a placeholder on Friday of just like,
Miscellaneous.
how do we, not even miscellaneous, I think we have to be more specific than that, the media press release, production, just what we usually do for them, can we just add that?
Yeah, I think it's already been published.
Oh,
I think our agenda's already been published for Friday, right?
does it?
Not yet.
Oh, it hasn't. Okay.
Okay,
I need Commissioner Kinney to sign and Wes to get me the final license caption for the ARP so I can get it sent out.
Okay,
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right,
if we
Jeff,
need it,
Jeff said he needs
We're
it.
gonna need that ARP
Mm,
conversation.
Okay.
So that's a definite, and then
Okay.
maybe number 3, just do winter ops.
Well, put it
media.
as media press releases,
Yeah,
proclamation.
there might be other things that.
Press
people do.
release, yeah, whatever.
Media related, yeah.
Okay, anything else for today?
One really quick
Oh,
executive.
yeah, use that, of course, yeah.
Dealing with pending litigation.
Got a date
under
tonight?
RCW 4230-110. I'd like the board and the CEO here.
Okay, all right, how long?
No action.
No action to be taken.
How long?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
90 seconds.
Okay, well, we're gonna allow folks to clear the room. So we will begin the executive session then at 4:39. No decisions will be made at the conclusion of the executive session. We will adjourn for the night. And we'll see everybody back on Friday.